सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। The second chapter, first Valli, Bhagavan Yamadharmaraja starts focusing on the direct answer which was asked by Nachiketa. It was not like Nachiketa had asked several questions. He asked only one question, and in order to test him for that one question, the entire first Valli goes into that picture. Not that that first chapter Adhyaya is redundant. It establishes a very good platform for us to understand what or who should be a sadhaka, what should be the qualifications of the sadhaka, what should be their attitude towards their life living and the outside world, how should they connect with, or what should be the intensity with which they should connect to the divine. So that qualifications was spent or given a lot of emphasis. Just like when somebody qualified sits down to look at the problem, it becomes easy for them to look into, understand, and get into the solution. But without qualification, when they sit down, it becomes overwhelming, it becomes redundant, it becomes such a farce of an effort that though they may claim that they have been living the path of spirituality but reaching nowhere. So Nachiketa was grilled very intensely to understand if he was qualified. And he was quite happy with the response that he saw in Nachiketa. Now, what did Nachiketa ask as the third boon? He said, there is polarity in our world of experience, dharma, adharma. There is good and bad. There is that which is done, that which is not done. There is that which is and that which is not. Anyatra dharmat, anyatra adharmat, anyatra krita kritat. There is something which is subtler than all of these functionings. Now, that which is in the field of functioning, field of matter, I think I have got a good grip at it. I understand the functioning of it. But that which I think every individual seeker is seeking, knowingly or unknowingly, they are in search of something which is subtler than all that which is obviously available. I know there is something, but I do not know how to pinpointedly understand it. Can you please directly give that message? Because you sit at that threshold wherein you see life and you see life after death, and then the entire cycle as to how this transmigration happens. You sit right at that threshold. You are the one that controls all of it. For those of us who are sitting in this bhuloka, there is still a confusion if there is something after this. But you know it, that there is. Beyond all this transmigration, beyond all this prapancha, there is something. I know there is something. I want you to point me towards that. And he is asking in a very precise terms about the absolute. That there is something called absolute, but that absolute is not something which I am able to decipher, understand. Not that I am a dull student. Bahunamemi prathamaha, bahunamemi madhyamaha. Meaning, I am actually a very good student in many regards, first among. If not first, at least I am the second. But never ever adhamaha. So don't keep pushing me out here and there with all these different kinds. I am not interested in those. Kindly point me to that absolute. Now, to that Nachiketa, Yamadharmaraja says, you are true, you are right. You are right, because the way this entire creation is designed, that with which you experience it, the organs of perception, they have been designed in such a way that they interact with the outside, not with the inside. Paranchikhani vyatruna swayambhuhu paran pashyati. Paran pashyati na antaratman. They see the outside and not the inside. And with the intelligence that you have displayed, I have come to believe that you have tested all that out. But with those instruments, you cannot. So, therefore, the instruments have to be withdrawn into the mind into the buddhi, and the buddhi into the avyakta, and the avyakta into the mahat, mahat, and then mahat into the avyakta, and then the avyakta into the parabrahma tattva. And what you are asking, you don't have to search for it here and there. It is verily the core of your own being. Angushtamatra purushaha madhye atmani tishtati. Where is it? It is right where you are, as the very essence of your being. Knowing this being is realizing that which is the very substratum of this entire creation. So he is pointing it directly. He is not saying tat tvamasi. He is saying etat vaitat. This you are. Every Upanishad has a Mahavakya. This happens to be the Mahavakya of this Upanishad. Etat vaitat. This thou art. This is verily your true nature. You cannot be anything other than this. But then instead of understanding this, how is our mind? This is a very famous mantra of Kathopanishad, which gives us a very figurative approach to understand how we, though have the potentiality of understanding our true nature as a human being, why are we where we are not realizing it? So he says in the 14th mantra, page number 226, Yathodakam Durge Vrishtam Parvateshu Vidhavati Evam Dharman Prathak Pashyan Tanevanuvidhavati. Yatha udakam durge vrishtam parvateshu vidhavati. एवं मीनिंग तथा धर्मान पृथक पश्यन तान एव अनुधावन्ति. Just like water, rain, when it falls on a mountain, usually the entire mass of water has aligned itself to flow from top down. Gravity works. And then for ages, the water has been falling and it also follows the contours of the slope. So it naturally aligns, it trickles down into little streams, and the little streams converge into one lowest point, and from there top down it starts falling. And most of these places you find that there is some kind of a waterfall because it has to fall down. Water follows gravity and then reaches into the major rivers or becomes a major river. But when rain falls, it falls random. It doesn't fall matching to the slope so that it all gathers together. So, yatha vrishtam, this yathodakam, the rain that falls, it falls all over the mountain. That which falls in the slope gathers into that stream or streams. But the rest of it, what happens? It gets scattered. Not just that it gets scattered, many times this water that falls, as soon as it falls onto the hot surface of the earth, much of it evaporates also. Much of it. And whatever is left behind, it gets scattered. Yatha udakam durge vrishtam. The durga meaning the inaccessible heights. It falls and it gets scattered. Yevam. Similarly, our mind also falls and gets scattered in this prapancha, and the word itself is Jagat's other name is prapancha, that which is made up of the combination of 5 different elements, and it expresses itself into so many factorials of multitude. So there is 5 elements which are not grossified, 5 elements which are grossified. The 5 elements which are not grossified, there is sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. Then that which is grossified is sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. And that which is between these elements, when the combination is, the creation is created, there's so many varieties that get churned out of these possibilities. And our mind is not focused, streamlined, channelized. Anything that comes, we get distracted, attracted to it, and run after it. Just before running, we don't even pause to evaluate what am I running for. Whatever is the new thing in every field. अभी क्या वो artificial intelligence. Now the camera that is using it has artificial intelligence. The software that is recording it has an artificial intelligence. The mic that I am speaking has artificial intelligence. It almost feels like it is competing with Paramatma to become Sarvavyapi. Anything new, everybody wants to get into that. Why? It is new. I mean, not just in the material world, even in the field of spirituality, those who have been listening to Upanishad, they see something promising, something new in the field of spirituality. कितने लोग भागते रहते? Meaning, neither will they understand this nor will they understand that, because that which is being revealed in the scriptures, in the Upanishad, is a direct message. Now we need something, a spectacle. So that which attracts, distracts the mind. Now, in the field of spirituality itself, there is so much of distraction. Imagine with the rest of the worldliness. So, the mind is constantly juggling, running out, dropping itself. I don't remember where, but Gurudev had said very uh, descriptively. We don't hear Gurudev speak in Hindi much, but he used to use one or two words here and there. So the word that he uses, gobar ki tarah thap thap thap. When the cow excretes the cow dung, and when it falls on the surface, it is not that it very nicely falls into one little lump. It falls and gets splashed, scattered. That is how our mind is. It jumps into the world and gets scattered completely. Why? Because एवं धर्मान पृथक पश्यन, the dharma meaning the attributes that which the mind sees, it has an anticipation that maybe this attribute will fulfill me. Whether we claim ourselves to be a spiritual seeker or not, every single individual, every single prani, what is it searching for? It is searching for that which can fulfill them. The only difference between the other creatures and us is the rest of the creatures are busily engaged in four things. Ahara, then as soon as the tummy is full, Nidra, those who do the documentaries on these wild animals, they say the lion and the tigers, they spend about 85% of their time resting. Why? To move is to expend energy. The more they move, the more energy is spent, therefore they keep resting. Only when after a certain while, when the energy is almost to that brink, then they start hunting. Ahara, ahara ke baad nidra. And that nidra is not also very complete nidra, because there is fear. Fear of other predators that can come and devour them, eat them away, kill them. So they are constantly vigilant, constantly light sleeping, that any movement, any kind of sound, they immediately, their sleep is broken. Ahara, nidra, bhaya. And then to procreate, maithunancha. This is very common across all the creatures. Sometimes the creation is so trivial, the way there are many these moths and bugs and creatures that are born. They are born for few hours, they find a mate and then die. And it is that mate who now lays the eggs and then die. उससे ज्यादा जिंदगी है ही नहीं. If we as a human being who have the capacity of uha poha vichakshana, the one who has the very subtle power of discrimination, to be able to understand what is real and what is not real, and yet without applying that primary beautiful subtle faculty that we have, without evaluating, we jump into the world, scattering all our resources. Have we been successful? When the sad part is, we call ourselves very intelligent, very sharp, very smart people. That if there is a road that that you have to come the first time you are going, and you have to henceforth go there regularly, how many times do you allow yourself to miss the road? एक बार, maybe two times, right? No, Swami, I am not very good with geography. Maybe three times. What do you call a person who regularly goes to the place and every day misses the point and settles down that which is not your destination? You have that faculty. It is not that the human being is not blessed with it. Whether we use it or not, that choice, not being able to ascertain why there is this unfulfilled aspect. I don't feel complete. Therefore, I am constantly searching for people that can complete me. There was a Yuva Kendra member that came, and he happened to come and lives in US but happened to come and work here. And on Saturday and Sunday, it was just for 3-4 weeks. Saturday, Sunday, he said, Swamiji, kuch aa jaun main? I said, aa jao, but why are you so anxious? No, sir, you have this whole, they have given apartment and everything. It is so lonely. And his words were, अकेलापन काटने को दौड़ता है. That we cannot stand or we cannot sit being with ourselves. And the unfulfilled or the non-content existence pushes us to fill that space with people, with things, with environments, with experiences. And the society keeps inventing new avenues and arenas to fill that space. So when I moved to the house here, apartment here, Ramana was saying, Shivaji, this space we should have a good big TV. I said, पिछले 25-30 साल से मैंने टीवी देखा ही नहीं है. I don't see the need for it. And there is enough time to fill the space with something more meaningful. Why do I have to fill the space with unnecessary things? But that is how we are. We have to run, rush. And the competition is, the rat race is so ridiculous that you stand aside and watch. You don't need entertainment on a screen. There is such a colorful entertainment happening. They are competing in uselessness to say that that is success. To fill the space of not just the house, the inside, with all these unnecessaries and say that I have now reached to the best of the world. घर है, गाड़ी है, बंगला है, फायदा क्या है? See, if it is that which will fulfill you and you have gotten it and you now find that peaceful restfulness inside, worth it. But having gotten it, you still are running after, that means you have not reached that which you wanted to reach. Therefore, this beautiful message being given, right? This is how our minds are technically working. The sooner we are aware of it and understand where it is trapped in, out of compassion to our own mind, elevate it to a higher standard. Once you elevate it to a higher platform and it sees the amount of satisfaction, amount of contentment that can be in the path of unfoldment, it will not stoop down to unnecessary things. Not that it stops enjoying whatever comes in its way. As Gurudev puts it very eloquently, who says there is no joy in the world of experiences? There is. But understand that it cannot be permanent. Knowing that it is not permanent, one has to come to the standpoint to understand that enough of life of likes and dislikes. It is to be done, therefore being done. Whatever are the field of responsibilities, Rest of the time, consolidate yourself and sit in that seat of peace and turn your attention within. Otherwise, this mind, I mean, it's not just this life. For several life, it has been tena eva anudhavati, anuvidhavati. It keeps running restlessly. Who keeps running? Our own antakarana keeps running out. That is how it was designed. Now turn it within. Now moving forward. A very apt conclusion for this chapter. A very beautiful mantra. यथोदकं शुद्धे शुद्धं आसिक्तं तादृगेव भवति एवं मुनेः विजानतः आत्मा भवति गौतम इति काठकोपनिषदि द्वितीयाध्याये चतुर्थी वल्ली समाप्ता यथा उदकम शुद्धे शुद्धम. He is saying the mind, the antakarana, specifically the intellect, it merging by turning its attention to its source. How is that merging happening? Usually when you merge one thing into the other, say rasgulla or gulab jamun, when it is merged in the chashni, the syrup is different, this is different. You can clearly see that it is different. When you put oil in water, to create emulsifiers, they add other elements so that it can be granularly mixed into that. It doesn't mix. So when you add water into oil or oil into water, what happens? The oil starts floating. It separates itself out. And in the exhibition, there used to be one particular lamp, and that lamp had such non-homogeneous liquids, and because of the heat generated, that oily substance keeps going up and down. As soon as it reaches to the top, it cools down, then goes down, and then again rises. Lava lamp, blue color mein, red color mein hota tha. So we used to have fancy, sit down, watch it go up and down, up and down. It doesn't mix. There are people ingenious. When we used to have those milkmen coming delivering milk, not the packets, straight from the cow or the buffalo, the milk would come to the house, and looking at that milk, you could tell if it was diluted or non-diluted. And if you complain, "Kya hai? You're mixing water into this?" And he would say, "Promise. I think, rainy season, buffaloes must have drank too much of water." But when pure water is mixed in pure water, cup A, cup B, transparent glass, you mix. Is there any difference that you can identify? None whatsoever. दिखता ही नहीं difference. When we were children, we used to have, when you go to the restaurants and other things, my cousin, that jug would be there. They say, "I don't want in the glass. The glass water, I don't want. I want it straight from the jug." Idhar se piyo, udhar se piyo, same water. Probably in his mind, it was the size of it. which he couldn't handle. You pour it into this, it still is the same water. When you merge it, there is no difference that this and that can be separated. That is how this, which has been behaving as a limited entity, realizes that that which I am associated with, identified with, is purely only a reflection. The reflection has all the attributes and qualities of that which it is reflecting. Just like the sun's light when it hits a surface and then hits onto the wall, the reflection also carries the heat and light. The same quality but not with the same intensity. Similarly, this reflected consciousness reflects the awarefulness, reflects the knowing aspect, the illumining aspect, and that which the Antakarana is identified thinks that this is it, this is the source. That is just a mere reflection. When the intellect understands and turns towards its own true nature, how is that merger? That merger is like pure water being mixed into pure water. Shuddhe Shuddham. As it merges, there is absolutely no possibility to distinguish one from the other. Evam munehe vijanataha atma bhavati Gautama. A very beautiful meditative point mentioned here. What does this intellect have to do? What is it that change when we say what is the change that it has to anticipate? The change is in dropping the earlier perspective and joining into the absolute perspective. It is that conviction has to change. Though we keep hearing the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita and the Prasthanatrayi and the Prakarana Granthas, as I leave from the Satsanga, as I leave from the Manana, study group and other formats also, am I leaving with the understanding and the perspective change that yes, I am not this body, mind and intellect. First stage. I mean, that understanding is still from the intellect. That yes, I see the point that I cannot be this body, mind and intellect. The second stage is that which I am not is ascertained. That which I am is that being ascertained. That not being ascertained, what happens? Even though I appreciate the understanding that I am not this instruments, but by the time I wear my chappal and get down to my vehicle, already what has taken over? I start behaving as the body, mind and intellect. Viveka Chudamani gives a very beautiful example. He says, just like the moss that is gathered on the surface of the water, the ladies who go to bring water, what do they do with their pot? They submerge it halfway and then shake it. Now with that shaking, what happens? All that moss which has gathered because of the ripples, it goes away. And then quickly wash it, submerge it, fill it up. No sooner that you have taken that water and turned, that moss again comes back. That is how our understanding is that yes, I am not this body, mind and intellect. I am not this body, mind and intellect. And by the time I get out, I start responding, reacting as the body, mind and intellect, because that which I am not is something that intellectually I can grasp. That which I am, there is no effort being put towards that direction. I have only heard it as words, but that understanding also has not settled in. Because once the understanding settles in, a conviction is born. And with that conviction is where this old rugged system of the intellect, which is constantly focused outside can be turned within. There is no effort. So the regularity that which is asked of the seeker by the entire Guru Parampara, entire Shastra Vichara, is that how much time are you spending on the following things? One, if I want to add, pranayama, yogasana, pranayama, then puja, japa, and then manana. How much time am I spending in manana? The earlier four needs a time and space. You need a certain space, you need a certain time, you need a certain possibility to sit down and do all of those. But manana is such thing wherein you carry that understanding into every walk of your life and you can still be doing your manana. It is the most user friendly. You don't need paper pen, you don't need a book, you don't need anything. Carry that understanding wherever you are, and that chintana has to constantly keep happening. That evaluation, from what standpoint am I functioning from? See, as a sadhaka, see, when I'm sitting in a meeting, when I'm having a discussion, or when I'm given an instruction and the things did not happen the way it is, and the fellow did not even come back to tell whether it happened or not, the mind does see irritation. When the mind sees that, when you come to observe that the mind is having those irritations, shift the standpoint. From what standpoint am I evaluating this experience? Am I seeing it from the conscious perspective, or am I becoming the mind to experience the irritation and carry it forward? That constant switch has to happen. It is not that that constant switch is not a possibility, it is cumbersome and I am not able to do it. If you are driving a vehicle, you are constantly adjusting, constantly changing to put it into perspective. It is not that आज मैं गाड़ी में बैठ गया तो बस ऐसे ही चलाऊंगा मैं. No, when it may be a straight road, but depending on the traffic, depending on most of the king of the roads are, the lorry has, those big lorries have king of the road, right? No, they are not the king of the road. ये गाय भैंस रोड पे आ जाते हैं and unheeding, they don't even care where they are. People may be honking, people may be doing all of that. अपने दुनिया में मस्त. Now you have to drive. What do you have to do? You have to constantly keep fine tuning your direction. Sometimes the road has a curve, you have to constantly, sometimes it has to be faster than, sometimes it has to be slower than. Are we not readjusting so that the goal is to reach safely is being catered to? Similarly, as I am driving through my life of experiences, what standpoint am I functioning from? Am I being this body, mind and intellect? Am I being associated with, attached to this reactionary patterns of the mind and intellect? Yes, body has certain needs. Timely you have to give food and water. Maybe timely you have to give medicine. Timely you have to give it its required rest. Beyond that, any unnecessary pampering of this body, am I doing it? Am I indulging in it? Imagine, that is like a inspiration to remember for every sadhaka, especially here in Chinmaya Mission. Tapon Maharaj, by 1950, he was frail. You see those photographs, it is like only a bony structure, skin and bone. And especially one photograph wherein he is in that Uttarkashi Kutiya, right? He is sitting there. So incident that is mentioned is he was leaning onto the wall because that day his health had failed quite drastically. So he was leaning onto the wall. The body was tired. So somebody brought a pillow. महाराज जी पीछे लगा लीजिए, थोड़ा सा सुकून से बैठ सकते हैं. Then he looked at it and put it aside and stopped taking the support of the wall. And he said, his statement was, thank you for reminding that the body is being pampered. When that awareness, that shift, we hear the story of Adi Shankaracharya ji, wherein he was going through the lanes of Kashi. A Chandala came in front of him. More than the Guru, it is the Sishyas who create Hallagulla. Right? They must have said, hey, hato, 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 hato. And Adi Shankaracharya ji also said, hat jao. And that Chandala asked such a pertinent question. Bho Chandala duram gacha iti. Hey Chandala, move away, said Adi Shankaracharya. And the Chandala, sticking to his ground, he said, Kim duri kartum vanchasitvam? What do you want to separate from what? Sharirat shariram va, atmat atmam va. What do you want to separate? If you talk from the standpoint of the Sharira, that is also 5 element, this is also 5 element. What big deal? And we are talking from the standpoint of that Atma Chaitanya, that and this is one and the same. A pointer that came as an experience to say, where are you functioning from? Immediately he shifts his attention, established abiding in that supreme. What comes out is Manisha Panchakam. So that calibration has to be constant. That is called manana. Yes, initially you have to sit down, write down, all the pointers, the sequence of the pointers, the logic that is supporting the sequence, that has to be understood. So you have to write your notes, write everything so that the clarity is established. Once the clarity is established, the inner calibration required for every functioning. Making sure that whatever the world treats you as, don't get carried away by it. See, as soon as people see this ochre robes, they put you on a platform, pedestal. To be on that pedestal or not, is it not my observation and sadhana? Constantly to be evaluating, constantly calibrating. Is the mind slipping away? It will slip. But do you recalibrate it back rather than getting lost in it? At the Sharira level, it will slip. At the Mana level, it slips. That's why I say, looking at that example of Tapon Maharaj, wherever the mind settles into a comfort zone, we have become complacent. Our standpoint has drifted away from the truth. Recognize those patterns and recalibrate ourselves to that stability within. Come what may. Mind has this stupid habit, lusty habit to constantly be reactive and seek attention. Each of our mind has this attention seeking syndrome. Don't abbreviate it. That is what we become. And we are like caught up in it. Constantly seeking attention, constantly seeking attention. And where are these places where we get complacent? The homework is already done by great masters. We may drift away from our study. Therefore, Vedo nityam adhiyatam taduditam karma swanushthiyatam. The entire 40 pointers that Adi Shankaracharya ji has given, it is said that all the Sishyas and Adi Shankaracharya ji went to Kedarnath. And there Adi Shankaracharya ji announced that this is it, boys. I have to bid farewell to this world. So all of them asked him, ki parting message. I mean, that who has given these many volumes, and yet people, what is your parting message? He gave these 40 pointers. He did the homework as the crux of all of his teachings into those 40 pointers. Swadvannam natu yachatam vidivashat praptyena santushyatam. Swadvannam natu yachatam. Don't ask for likes and dislikes of your taste buds. Whatever comes, sometimes it is with salt, sometimes it is no salt, sometimes it is fried, sometimes it is whatever comes. Eat, fill it, shut it, forget it. And the pointers are also given, the homework is also done by them. All that we have to do is put that into practice. There is one more. I mean, all the 40 pointers are amazing. Wherein he says that Vakya is not coming. The meaning that it states is, Janakrupa Naishturyam Utsrujyatam. People's attention. Try to get away from it. Arey Swamiji, don't get caught up in that. Otherwise, we start assuming things wrong. That I am great, I am something. Therefore, now that should become a pattern. And being with Mahatmas is the greatest lesson taught, so beautifully. I was with Swami Govindanand ji, Akhandanand ji ke Sishya. So we reached about 5-6 of us, and though he had given us a time to come, he said, क्या करें, लोग बुलाते हैं, जाना पड़ रहा है अभी, पर एक काम कर सकते, गाड़ी में बैठ जाओ. He was asked to come alone for some engagement or some marriage to bless. And all 5 of us and him and his driver, we all went into the car, went to that place. This is outskirts of Vrindavan. Went to that place, but a Seth ka ghar tha. And they were busy. And as usual, Indian timing, he went promptly at the time given. They were not ready. No Purna Kumbha was ready, no, nothing was ready. Even those people that marriage happening, so they were caught up in the other things. So Maharajji went inside and there were all these sofas and other things. So on one side, corner, he went there, sat down and pointed to us to sit down. I mean, in those areas, he is like verily the Bhagavan coming. That is how he is looked up to. And he sat in one corner and we also sat around him. And after 5 minutes or 10 minutes, the host came running and apologizing. Swami, aap niche kaise baith gaye? Aapke liye. There was an asana. There was a chair with all the alankara done, fit enough for a Mahatma. I said, oh, aapke liye hi tha. And then he got up, did not resist, went there, sat down, whatever has to be done. Those couple came, he blessed, and then we had bhiksha and left. So I had this in my mind. Then I said, Maharaji, you knew that that seat was meant for you. Why didn't you go and sit there? Then he says, Janakrupa Naishthurya Mutsrujyatam. And then he explained, वहां पे बिठाना उनका बड़प्पन है. ऐसी जगह पे बैठ जाओ जहां से कोई तुम्हें गिरा ना सके. Now that is the lowest point. Now from there, who else can, nothing can be done. We unnecessarily give value to those things and put ourselves on that and think that we are important, we are something, something worth, and thereby get caught up in those imaginations. What to talk of गृहस्थ? I have seen people wherein हम स्वामी जी आए, हमको हमारा ठीक से खातिरदारी नहीं हुआ. पूछने वाले कौन होते हो यार? Where it gets caught up. So therefore the calibration has to happen. It is an intense sadhana. Where am I established in? Am I in the right spot? Otherwise, to get caught up and get carried away in unnecessary things, which I think as sadhana, that is a bigger trap. To do things that which are not sadhana, thinking that it is sadhana. एक पैर पे खड़े हैं, काहे के लिए? भाई साधना कर रहे हैं. हमारे स्वामी जी पिछले 40 साल से खाना नहीं खाते हैं. तो अदर फेलो, हमारे स्वामी जी पिछले 40 साल से पानी नहीं पीते हैं. This happened, true experience in a train. Coming back from Kumbh Mela, all kinds of sadhus in the same compartment. So सब लोग अपनी अपनी महात्मा की बड़प्पन बता रहे थे. So I was like, so they turned to me. I was the third one. I was left. So आपके गुरु महाराज, they were asking, what is his greatness? तो I said, हमारे महाराज तो टाइम पे खाते हैं, टाइम पे सोते हैं. Those are not the criteria of spirituality. Okay, नहीं खाया, good. Whatever you could eat now can be served to somebody who is not having food. Great. But are you established in the self? Because being established in the self is not a chamatkara. It is to transcend all chamatkaras. Because any chamatkara is in the layer of matter, in the layer of mind, and don't get caught up in that. So the message is so beautiful. Evam munehe vijanataha. Constantly that understanding has to be calibrated. To what point that this calibration has to be put? Until there is absolutely no confusion that I am functioning from that absolute only. Until then, it has to be calibrated. How long will you drive? Until you reach the destination. Simple, right? Having reached, there is no need any further for the driving. So you drop. Until then, you calibrate. Munehe vijanataha. And the word used here is munehe. Munehe meaning mananashilaha. The one who is constantly in that brahmachintana. Where am I responding from? Am I reacting or am I responding? Atma bhavati Gautama. Gautama, a very endearing term. It is almost like saying in Hindi, pyare bacche. Endearing, oh dear one. Oh Gautama, oh dear Nachiketa. This is how one establishes oneself in the true nature. Manana is the key. So thus ends this particular Valli, which is fourth in count, but comes in the second chapter, that which comes to an end. So we'll stop here. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।